Hello， 大家好，我是阿方，欢迎来到我频道。今天这期影片还是来自于币安2025年的区块链周上面的一个重要的演讲。那我前两天分享了黄金派的教父 Peter Schiff， 比特币的大空头，那还有拥有比特币最多的公司的掌舵人 Michael Saylor。那今天这个主角是拥有最大的以太坊的财库公司的掌舵人 Tom Lee， 他是专门给华尔街大机构做研究分析的那种。他管理的 ETF 是全美历史上冲上30亿美金最快的主动式基金。他现在是 BitFang 的董事会主席，全球最大的以太坊持仓机构。听到这里你就知道，他肯定不是来蹭热度的。那么他讲的东西应该就是目前华尔街这些大机构研究的方向。那汤姆利一开口就说，2025年的主角不是比特币，也不是以太坊，而是 Tokenize。他就是把现实世界上面的这个资产搬到链上，让它变成可交易的代币。那美国 SEC 主席今天刚刚发了一个重要的讲话，他说未来美国的所有资产都将上链。这是 SEC 就是美国证券交易委员会的主席说的话。比如美元它已经代币化了，我们非常熟悉的稳定币USDC USDT。那美债我之前也有一期影片来分享过，币安的这个 RWUSD 就是真实世界的 USD， 那也是将我们的 USDT 帮我们变相的去拿到美债的收益，也有 4%。那这个1万美金我仍旧是在测试当中，那我可能未来会专门做一期影片来分享我的1万美金的曲线享受美债收益的这样一个影片。有兴趣小伙伴可以订阅这个频道，期待一下。那股票也是被代币化的，这个正在进行当中，但是一些行业的先行者例如像 gate， 我们之前有专门分享过，在 gate 上面怎么样买到美股，有兴趣小伙伴也可以去看一下。那房地产的代币化，包括企业收益的代币化，甚至未来你可能买到某一个公司的某一年的盈利，这都是可以的。那为什么 Tokenize 代币化那么重要？那因为是有一个成功的案例，就是美元稳定币。当华尔街的这些大佬看到把美元放在链上还能够赚钱，而且效率比银行还高，那所有的这些华尔街的巨鳄恶狼们一下子都醒了，非常的兴奋。包括贝莱德的 CEO AZFANG， 他也曾经说过，这是金融史上最重要的创新之一。听起来很夸张，对不对？但是你要知道，华尔街这群恶狼们就是整天想着能让他赚钱的东西，他们就会把这个工具用到极致。而美元稳定币的底层就是以太坊。待会儿我们再来讲以太坊 ETH。 那么为什么所有人都觉得熊市要来的时候，汤姆利说市场已经见底了？然后他是疯了吧？他可不是一个神经病他是这些大机构专门的分析师很多人这几个月心情都很差，为什么？比特币从12.6万跌到了8万多，市场跌跌撞撞，情绪不好。但是 Tom Lee 的观点非常明确，他说这不是熊市，这是去杠杆。他的意思是说，目前不是趋势转向了，而是钱暂时被抽掉而已。他引用了这样一个事实，你可以听一下。他说 FTX 崩盘之后，市场花了8周才恢复流动性。那从时间上来算，10月份的那次大暴跌，距离现在我录制影片的12月8日，刚好差不多8周时间，周期差不多。最关键的是
We've begun to buy Ethereum again. You can see last week we bought almost 100,000 ETH, twice what we did 2 weeks before. I will give you a hint. We definitely bought more than that this week because we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed.
他说我们要重新开始大规模的买入 ETH， 前几周差不多买了将近10万枚的 ETH， 那最近买的更多，这就表明了机构把这些钱全部压进去了，这就是市场最直接的行动信号。他演讲第3部分的主题是比特币的4年的周期可能真的没有了。这句话让很多区块链界的 OG 有点不愿承认，过去比特币涨跌几乎完美的贴着4年的周期走，但是 Tom Lee 直接说这一轮不一样，原因是影响比特币周期最重要的2个指标，第一个是铜和金的比率，反映着经济的周期。那第二个是美国的 ISM 制造业的周期，几十年呢都和比特币4年周期一样，它是有规律可循的。但是你知道吗？过去的2年这个情况完全跑偏了，这代表什么？就是过去4年的周期逻辑可能已经失效。他们的判断逻辑是，只要在2026年的1月份创下新高，这个周期将被正式打破。这是整个演讲最震撼的一句话。以太坊会成为未来金融的底层操作系统。
And in 1971, it galvanized Wall Street to create financial products to make sure the dollar would be the reserve currency. Well, in 2025, we're tokenizing everything. So it's not just the dollar that's getting tokenized, but it's stocks, bonds, real estate. And
他们利用了一个我觉得非常形象的比喻。他说，以太坊正在经历像1971年美元脱金本位的那一刻。那一年之后发生了什么？华尔街发明了各种金融武器，期货、期权、指数、证券化的贷款、金融项目。美国金融霸权的基调呢，就是在那个时候定下来的。而现在类似的事情发生在以太坊，美元代币化、债券的代币化、股票的代币化、资金流动放上链。JP Morgan 呢，直接在以太坊上面发行了 JPM Coin， 所以华尔街不是在讨论 ETH， 而是直接在用 ETH 赚钱。他们给出了3个 ETH 可能的价格区间，如果是回归长期的平均价是$12,000，而如果上到大牛市的强势区，就是以太坊将会来到$22,000一枚。如果是就像汤姆利所说的，成为金融的底层基础建设，以太坊将会来到$62,000一枚。他说这不是喊多，如果前面第一步能够成立的，那么第二步到达$22,000就会发生。那么为什么买以太坊国库公司的股票会涨得比原本的这个以太坊的代币来得更快？汤姆利说，未来最大的赢家可能不是持币的人，而是持有大量数字资产的上市公司。比如我们之前分享过的微策略 MSTR 就是比特币的国库公司，而 BitMine 是以太坊的最大的国库公司。那为什么这些公司的盈利的能力比这个代币的赚钱的效应更强？那是因为股票市场给他们带来了杠杆效应，更高的流动性。因为目前为止，在股票里面操作性以及它的人群会更广泛，还有传统机构的准入，更强的融资能力，以及更强的吸金的资本，还有更强的叙事能力。BigFang 呢，交易量已经超过了 GE 通用公司，这听上去是不是有点夸张？那这类公司呢，它会变成传统金融和去中心化金融之间的桥梁。那听完整个演讲，我最大的感受是，市场悲观的是情绪，华尔街行动的是趋势。散户在怕，机构在买，大众在怀疑，而华尔街在布局。这不是乐观，也不是悲观，这是一种很现实的对比。你会发现3件事情：4年周期真的可能要和我们说再见了。以太坊在华尔街的地位比你想的要高太多，而2025年是一个新时代的转折点，不是某一个币涨了，而是整个金融结构改变了。那我们作为长期主义者，不是躺平，而是看得懂趋势，在正确的方向慢慢积累。好了，我刚才说了这么多，我想听听屏幕前的小伙伴你是怎么想的？你觉得4年周期会不会被打破？还是像以往一样，市场最近应该进入熊市了，而且会长达1-2年时间？欢迎在评论区说出你的想法。听完了这个以太坊的多头和 Michael Saylor 比特币的多头2个大多头的非常精彩的演讲，那如果让你选一个，你打算抱10年的资产，是选择 ETH 还是选择比特币？好了，那么如果你还有一定时间的话，你可以观看影片的后半部分，就是 Tom Lee 这次演讲的中英文的完整版。好，再次提醒一下，我的影片仅仅是我在区块链领域学习记录分享，不能作为你任何的投资建议。
Hello, everybody. It's great to be speaking to you, and especially this time, because as you know, crypto's had a rough run since October. Pessimism has risen. I've known a lot of people that are ready to throw in the towel. And so I think this is a great time to be talking to you about crypto and why I'm so bullish on Ethereum. So the title of the talk is The Crypto Super Cycle is Intact. A little background, I have 3 jobs today. I'm the head of research for Fundstrat Global, which does macro and crypto research. I'm the chief investment officer of Fundstrat Capital, which manages 3 ETFs, including Granny Shots, which is the fastest to $3 billion in the history of any active equity ETF. And I'm chairman of the board of BitMine Emergent Technologies, which today is the largest holder of Ethereum in the world. And just on social media, if you want to follow us, we have 2 handles, @Fundstrat, and BitMine is @BITMNR. Okay. So in the next 25 minutes or so, this is the rundown of what I want to talk to you about. First, why we're still really bullish on crypto. It's all about tokenization. Number 2, I think crypto prices have bottomed. And I think that in the next 8 weeks, we're going to shatter the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. I don't think it's going to be a 4-year cycle this time. Number 3, Ethereum is the future of finance. I mean, I think that's really important because Ethereum is going to be really central casting for the tokenization of the future. Number 4, tokenization is a bigger unlock for Wall Street than many appreciate. And I think that many people think tokenization is simply digitizing assets. I think that's an oversimplification of the unlock that's coming. And number 5, why I think a proper digital asset treasury company like MicroStrategy or BitMine play a central role in what's going to happen. And in fact, you may outperform the crypto itself by owning a digital asset treasury. Okay, so 2025 is all about tokenization. But let me level set for a bit, and let's look back at the last 10 years. In December 2016, okay, you could have said, I want to own the S&P, and you would have tripled your money, which is pretty good. You could have bought gold, because you might have been a gold bug, and you quadrupled your money, or quadrupled your money. Or you might have been really smart and bought NVIDIA and made 65 times your money. But if you bought Bitcoin 10 years ago, which is right around the time we started recommending it to FundStrat clients, you had 112x. But outperforming Bitcoin was Ethereum, which was a 49 times return. I'm sorry, 500 times, almost a 500 times return of your money. So that was the last 10 years. Now we're in 2025, and when I look back at what happened this year, we've had a lot of major positive fundamental events, but the price action's been terrible. So here are some high-level bullets of what I think have been the high points. The first is the US government became very pro-crypto and setting the standard for the Western world. The second is several US states and the US government plan or have executed a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Huge deal. The third is that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF is now their top 5 highest fee-generating product for BlackRock. I mean, think about that. They launched that only a year and a half ago, and it is one of their most profitable ever ETF products. Now, JP Morgan, which as you know, has been a hater of crypto for many years, is launching a JP Morgan coin on Ethereum, but they're not the only ones, there's others. Tokenization has become a big buzzword and priority for all these major financial institutions. And then these last 2 things are probably more important than you realize. There have been probably 3 breakout products that are crypto native that have changed how traditional financial markets make decisions. One example is Polymarket, which really used prediction markets to actually generate so much information that, I mean, at FundStrat, I think it's the closest thing to a crystal ball. And then Tether has proven to be the top 10 most profitable bank in the world. I mean, think about that. It's a crypto native, singular line, monoline business, and it's one of the top 10 most profitable banks in the world. Okay, but I think the real story in 2025 is tokenization. It all started with stablecoins, and that was Ethereum's ChatGPT moment, because all of a sudden Wall Street realized that if you just tokenize the dollar, you could make a lot of money. But now financial institutions are saying tokenization is going to transform finance. In fact, Larry Fink says it's the biggest, most exciting invention since double entry bookkeeping. I mean, first of all, I don't know if that's that exciting, but it is apparently a huge deal. And I mean, this picture is, this is monumental too. Brian Armstrong and Larry Fink together talking on DealBook. Okay, so if you're bearish on crypto or you think the best days are behind us because of the last 10 years, I'm going to disagree. Keep in mind today, there's only 4.4 million Bitcoin wallets that have more than $10,000. Okay. By contrast, there's almost 900 million individuals around the world with more than $10,000 in their retirement accounts. So if Bitcoin were to be held by all these accounts, that's a 200 times increase in adoption. That's still, to me, exponential and hypergrowth. And Bank of America Fund Manager Survey still shows 67% of fund managers have zero allocation to Bitcoin. Wall Street wants to tokenize all financial products. And keep in mind, financial products today, if you include real estate, it's almost $2 quadrillion that they want to put onto the blockchain. And then, of course, in the agentic world, it's going to create a need for decentralized trust and security, of course, which is what blockchain solves. So to me, I think the best years are still ahead. Okay. So let me explain to you why I think crypto prices have bottomed. First of all, crypto is acting like there's a crypto winter because gold's up 61% year to date. S&P's up almost 20%, and you can see Bitcoin and Ethereum actually are negative year to date. And I really like this article by Jeff Dorman at Arca, who said, the selling that nobody can explain. I think many people can say why they think crypto prices have fallen, but nobody really understands why. But here's what I just want to point out. This is Bitcoin's year-to-date performance. And Bitcoin was having a good year until October 10th. Now, after October 10th, a lot of people try to explain why crypto is declining. It's the quantum risk to Bitcoin, crypto winter starting. I have so many traditional investors telling me that's the only reason. They say, Tom, it's the 4-year cycle. Of course, we had the October 10th liquidation event, the biggest liquidation in history. A lot of people say it's the AI stocks have captured mind share. MicroStrategy recently said they might sell their Bitcoin. That scared some people. MSCI may exclude digital asset treasuries from indexes. And of course, Tether got a ratings downgrade. So maybe some of these could explain why crypto's down. But just keep in mind, crypto was up 36% until October 10th, and then it's gone straight down. I personally think it has a lot to do with deleveraging. And as you know, after the FTX collapse, it did take 8 weeks before market makers recovered and crypto could start to see price discovery again. And we're basically 7.5 weeks past that event. Now, Bitmoin made a decision about 5 weeks ago to engage Tom DeMark because we wanted to understand what was happening with crypto prices. Now, if you don't know who Tom DeMark is, he's a legendary market timer. At Fundstrat, I've used him to call 2 of the major market lows, the March 2020 low and the April tariff lows. Those were all in coordination and consultation with Tom DeMark. And Tom only has 2 clients today. We're his second client. And he's very expensive, actually. Tom has advised us to dramatically slow our Ethereum purchases. And as you can see here, once we engaged Tom, we took a different strategy with regard to our Ethereum purchasing. And you can see our Ethereum purchases fell by half to 50,000 a week. But we've begun to buy Ethereum again. You can see last week we bought almost 100,000 ETH, twice what we did 2 weeks before. And I will give you a hint, we definitely bought more than that this week because we believe Ethereum prices have actually bottomed. So we're bullish on Ethereum. But let's go back to the 4-year price cycle for Bitcoin because it's still hard to escape this chart. 3 of 3 times since the history of Bitcoin, the 4-year cycle, or 3.91 years, exactly called the top and the lows. So the question is, why is Bitcoin subject to a 4-year cycle? We asked the Fundstrat Digital Assets team to give us the 5 most logical reasons for this. There's the halvening cycle, there's monetary policy, margin debt. But the 2 things that I think have actually become more important in our view is gold versus copper, and then the ISM, which is just your traditional economic business cycle. So let me explain. So the halving could explain Bitcoin because the halving is pre-computed, but the problem with the halving cycle explaining Bitcoin's price is that there's a lot of other things that have a 4-year cycle. Presidential elections, Olympics, World Cup, etc. But there are some things that follow a 4-year price cycle that no longer follow a 4-year price cycle. And one of them is copper versus gold. And this is a tweet from AO BTC analyst. And we decided to recreate it, which is, let's look at the ratio of copper prices, which is measuring industrial activity, to monetary base, which is gold. And in the past, you can see it had a predictable 4-year cycle, except this time. And if you line it up with Bitcoin and copper, they actually line up almost perfectly. But copper and gold are not in a 4-year cycle now because that ratio should have peaked this year. Similarly, is ISM. ISM is a measure of US economic activity, and historically that had a 4-year cycle. But as you can see, the ISM is not following a 4-year cycle today. It's actually stayed below 50 for almost 3.5 years. If you line up the ISM to Bitcoin, you can see it almost perfectly explained every Bitcoin cycle, including the original Bitcoin price peak. So it's even more explanatory than the 4-year cycle. But again, this time the ISM is not peaking. So here's the question I'd ask you. If the industrial cycle is no longer following a 4-year cycle, and copper gold isn't following a 4-year cycle, I'm going to say I don't know if Bitcoin should follow a 4-year cycle. So I'm not in the camp that Bitcoin price has peaked. And the only way we'll know is if we make new highs in January, which is our bet. Okay, so let me explain to you why Ethereum, now that we've talked about crypto, Ethereum is the future of finance. And what I mean by that is Ethereum in this year, it's having its 1971 moment. I've done past dedicated videos explaining this, so I'm not going to spend much time on it today. But what I'm saying is that in 1971, the dollar went off the gold standard. And in 1971, it galvanized Wall Street to create financial products to make sure the dollar would be the reserve currency. Well, in 2025, we're tokenizing everything. So it's not just the dollar that's getting tokenized, but it's stocks, bonds, real estate. And Wall Street is again going to take advantage of that and create products onto a smart contract platform. And where they're building this is on Ethereum. This is a list of basically every major financial institution, and they're building products on the blockchain. And today, if you look at the share of real-world assets, and the prior panel talked about that, the majority of this, the vast majority, is being built on Ethereum. And not only that, but Ethereum is continuing to upgrade its capabilities, and today, the Fusaka upgrade was completed. So again, Ethereum is increasing its capabilities. And I thought this was great. This week, if you guys know Eric Voorhees, he was one of the original Bitcoin developers. Even he has said Ethereum has won the smart contract war. Okay, so that gets us to the price of Ethereum. As you know, Ethereum has been range-bound for 5 years, as I've shaded here. But it's begun to break out. And that's one of the reasons why myself and Mosaics, Shen from Mosaics is here, we got very involved with Ethereum by turning BitMine into an Ethereum treasury company because we saw this breakout coming. And maybe more importantly, the Ethereum Bitcoin ratio we think is also going to have a breakout. Now this might actually be more important because Bitcoin and Ethereum are really the two most important crypto L1s or blockchains out there. But if 2025 is about tokenization, that means Ethereum's utility value should be rising. Therefore, you should watch this ratio. Okay, well, what does that mean for Ethereum's price? Well, I think Bitcoin's going to get to 250,000 within a few months. And if Ethereum price ratio to Bitcoin gets back to its 8-year average, that's $12,000 for Ethereum. I mean, that's a huge move. If it gets to the 2021 highs, that's $22,000 for Ethereum. But I think Ethereum is going to become the future of finance, the payment rails of the future. And if it gets to 0.25 relative to Bitcoin, that's 62,000. So I think Ethereum at 3,000, of course, is grossly undervalued. Okay. And in the final minutes, I want to talk about why tokenization is a bigger unlock than you realize. Larry Fink says we're at the beginning of tokenization of all assets. And there's 5 reasons tokenization unlocks things, okay? It's fractional ownership. It does reduce cost. It allows 24/7 global trading. There's more transparency. And in theory, there's more liquidity, okay? But I would say that these are just the raw ingredients. And in our minds, tokenization is actually going to take Wall Street into a next level of evolution. And what I mean by that is we have to understand what you can do differently if you begin to tokenize assets, especially combining it with prediction markets. For instance, most people who are talking about tokenization are doing what I call a very simplified view. They're going to take a painting like this and they'll fractionalize it. So you can own one grid of this asset. But a second way to do a tokenization is to factorize a business, okay? So let's say we break this painting down into its prime colors, and then you can just buy, whatever factor you want. An example is Tesla. For instance, you can time tokenize Tesla. You can buy the NPV of earnings on a specific date. You can product tokenize. You can just buy the present value of a specific product stream. Okay, so in other words, it's blending prediction markets with actual ownership. You can geographically tokenize Tesla. You can buy the NPV of a specific region, or you can financial statement tokenize. You can buy the tokenization of its subscription revenues. These will all still solve for the price of the stock, but you're going to create an unlock that better explains the price of Tesla. For instance, we know Tesla's stock price is the sum of its future earnings. So let's say that you could tokenize and purchase a specific year of Tesla's stock earnings. And we know that Elon Musk is going to get his pay package based on a 10-year plan. So you may only want to buy the present value of 2036 earnings. So you can do that today with a prediction market, or you could actually have this as a true tokenization of the stock, and everything else is the other time periods. A second example is product tokenization. We know Tesla is EVs, robotaxis, full self-driving. I don't even have Optimus Prime, solar, but of course, ultimately, the biggest value of Tesla is Elon himself. So if you could tokenize Tesla stock, you could isolate the implied value of just buying in Elon Musk himself. And as you know, he's an N equals 1 person. Okay, so that's tokenization. I think, of course, you need smart contracts and prediction markets, and really working in conjunction with both is what is, in our view, a huge unlock. And in fact, BitMine is trying to find projects that are really moving this forward. So that gets us to the last point, which is, well, you can buy Ethereum because we're bullish on Ethereum, but I think you should also realize that digital asset treasuries are playing a role in transforming Wall Street. Okay, I'm going to start with Ethereum specifically, but in our view, a proper Ethereum treasury company is actually a crypto infrastructure business, and I'll explain it. First of all, Ethereum is a proof-of-stake blockchain, so Ethereum treasuries are staking Ethereum, so we're providing security. Now, in return, we get a yield, and that's revenue for the treasury companies. And we are essentially improving the security of the network, but also acting as a bridge between traditional finance and the DeFi world. And finally, stablecoin issuers are going to, in our view, ultimately want to stake Ethereum because it is the underlying base monetary layer. But for all of this to work, I think the most important element of a crypto treasury is it needs to have stock liquidity. Stock liquidity is a measure of how Wall Street views that company as relevant to the future of finance. So let's look at the two biggest treasuries. MicroStrategy today is the 17th most traded stock in the stock market today. So think about that. Like, let's say that you guys think no one cares about MicroStrategy. Wall Street certainly does. It is trading almost $4 billion a day, and it trades, it trades more trading volume than JP Morgan, for instance. Now, BitMine, which essentially was created 4 months ago, is the 39th most traded stock in America today. And as I zoom in here, you can see it trades more trading volume than General Electric, which has 30 times the market cap, and it trades almost the same trading volume as Salesforce.com, which is 20 times the market cap. So these two companies, according to the equity world, are extremely relevant. In fact, BitMine and MicroStrategy account for 92% of all crypto treasury trading volume. There's 80 crypto treasuries, and these two companies are 92% of the trading volume. And we can see that here. MicroStrategy is 3.6 billion a day. BitMine's 1.5 billion a day. After that, there's almost no trading volume. It drops off by 90%. Okay, and that's where MicroStrategy and BitMine are pursuing different strategies, because MicroStrategy is purpose building their crypto treasury to be what Michael Saylor calls a digital credit vehicle. And he's financialized his balance sheet with a series of products, and it's been phenomenally successful. On the other hand, BitMine is bridging Wall Street and Ethereum and DeFi. So let me explain. Number one, BitMine's the largest holder of Ethereum in the world. I think that's a pretty impressive feat because 5 months ago, BitMine owned 0. Now, BitMine has announced that we have Maven, our staking solution, and when it's fully implemented, using the CZAR index, we should generate about 2.9% staking yield on our Ethereum holdings. That's about $400 million a year in net income, or $1.3 million a day. I mean, think about that for a moment. I mean, that's a lot of money. And it's done with a completely clean balance sheet. BitMine has over $12 billion worth of Ethereum, a little bit of Bitcoin, some moonshot investments, and about $900 million of cash. So there's no debt. But that's only part of it. As you can see, this is part of a DeFi strategy. The first was BitMine is doing moonshot investments. It made a big investment in ACO, which is proof of human, an ERC20 token called WorldCoin. We have our Maven staking solution that's being rolled out next year. We're working very closely with the Ethereum Foundation in partnership to really help bridge Wall Street and the crypto world. We're already looking very hard at investing in DeFi projects. And of course, we're in the process of creating BitMine Labs. But that's only part of it. We're also planning to bridge finance. Because of BitMine's sizable trading volume and because of the macro experience of both Mosaics and Fundstrat, we have enormous Wall Street connectivity. We also realize that BitMine is very complementary to a lot of consumer services. It already is a very recognized brand. We are one of the most important stocks in the stock market today. There is an enormous BitMine community that already exists, and BitMine is building a lot of its own technology. So The roadmap looks good for us. We have a Made in America validator network, which is Maven. We're really investing in the crypto community and in Bitmine moonshots, and of course, targeting at least 5% of the Ethereum network. That's the end of my presentation, so thank you.
So the topic about which I've been asked to speak